Hello, and welcome to my channel, my brand new channel, actually. Um, my journey with rheumatoid arthritis. My name is Janine. I also go by Letha. And I wanted to kind of start this channel just as a video blog, a video journal of my journey with the autoimmune illness, rheumatoid arthritis, RA. It kind of go through um, the how I navigate it, some of the challenges, some of the things I've learned, tools that I've incorporated to make my life easier, advice, lessons, things like that, in the hopes that I might be able to resonate with other people who are living with this challenge, whether they have rheumatoid arthritis or some other autoimmune illness, as well as be a resource. Um, and maybe we can share what has worked and what has not, and maybe even new insights and things like that for developments in autoimmune illness. So, all that said, I thank you for coming to my channel. I wanted to start this first video just as an introduction to who I am and where my journey with rheumatoid arthritis began. So, I was diagnosed with RA in 2008 at the age of 33. When I was diagnosed, I had never heard of rheumatoid arthritis. I'm an avid reader, so I had heard of rheumatism. Um, that word was kind of familiar, but I still didn't really know what it was or what it meant. But that was about the extent of it. I didn't know anyone with rheumatoid arthritis or any other autoimmune illness, so it was all brand new to me. And the way that I was diagnosed was, like I said, in 2008, I had a pretty stressful year. And since I've had rheumatoid arthritis, I've heard people say that autoimmune illness in general can kind of act like a sleeping beast inside your body. Like, and it just lays dormant until you have like a stressor or an illness or something that triggers the um, the autoimmune disease to come on. And for me, 2008 was definitely a stressful year. So if that is true, I could see how it would lead credence to that theory. So for me in 2008, I was living with a boyfriend at the time. And up until that point, I had never had like a long-term committed relationship. And with this person, we had decided to, I decided to move him into my house. And I hadn't known him long enough really to do that. So that was a lesson in itself, right? It wasn't very smart of me to do that, but I did it. And he wasn't a good housemate. Um, his brother also ended up moving in as well. And neither of them were really contributing financially to the household. They had hard times keeping jobs. Um, there was also a lot of drama that they brought, especially my ex-boyfriend with just his lifestyle and all of his stuff. So I kind of felt like I was being crowded and almost like trapped. Like it was just in my house. It was like oppressive and burdensome. So I had that going on. Um, and then the other thing too was in 2008, my 13-year-old godson was killed in a drunk driving accident. And that was tragic for all of us, for everyone. And my best friend, his mom, um, he was her only child. So that was pretty hard. And I just had all of that going on simultaneously. And one morning I woke up, the index finger on my left hand was swollen and painful, and I couldn't couldn't bend it. And I was like, I don't know what happened because I don't remember injuring myself. So I was thinking maybe I slept on it wrong and did I break my finger in my sleep? I had no idea. So I lived with it like that for about a day or two. And then I ended up going to my general practitioner just to understand like what was going on. And she did some tests, including an RF factor test, and my levels came back highly elevated. So that was the beginning of a couple more tests to determine that I had rheumatoid arthritis. And that was really the first time I heard the term rheumatoid arthritis. So back in 2008, the internet wasn't exactly what it is today, but I did go home and I Googled rheumatoid arthritis to try to understand what it was, and it was pretty devastating to see what the internet had to say. It basically let me know that I would not be growing old gracefully. Um, there was going to be a lot of discomfort and pain and deformity coming my way. And it was just a scary place to be, right? But luckily at that time, I was pretty young. I was otherwise pretty healthy. And I was blissfully naive, right? So what I did was I just took what I had, what I knew, and I said, well, not me. Basically, I just said, I have rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis doesn't have me, right? And it was I did the treatments, I did the medications, I did what I was supposed to do, but I also had this attitude of I would be the exception, right? Um, but at the same time, still with with the notion that my later years could be much more different than what I'd hoped for and what I had planned for. So I started to kind of just live my life in a way that didn't leave anything on the table, right? Um, so that's kind of how I coped with rheumatoid arthritis when I first was diagnosed. I was afraid. I was kind of alone because I didn't have any resources. Um, and I just kind of plowed through it with this feeling of being invincible, but living life to the fullest just in case the Googles were correct, right? And so that that began my journey, and I lived like that for quite a few years um, until things started to change. And I'll talk about those changes in later videos and how I've dealt with those changes as they've come. But yeah, that was my journey. So let me know in the comments, how did you find out about your diagnosis? Um, what did it mean for you? Were you alone? Had you heard of rheumatoid arthritis before? What was your experience? I'd like to know. And in these videos, I kind of want to be useful. I want each video to have some type of usefulness. And with this first one talking about um, diagnoses, I want to, for all those folks who may not have heard of it, there's a test out there called the PRISM test. If you haven't had it, um, look it up, do some research, talk to your rheumatologist or your doctor about it, and see if it's something that might be beneficial to you and understanding what your treatment journey can look like. That's PRISM test. All right, until next week, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves.